Okay, been a busy morning. I shot some training videos on how to dial in your uh, dual band settings that were posted in our Quant Tower training room. And then I noticed just now we came all the way down just above the session lows from yesterday evening. So we had a decent bounce out of that, some good price action. We've come all the way down. So that I'll call that a levels test. And I got a triangle higher than the prior one. So I came in here with very small position sizing, not a lot, and took a shot at this area. So put in some inventory. We had lift, and I was going to get in. We had pullback, pullback. I put in some inventory into the pullback and thought I could get in a little bit more, but it basically stopped. Actually gave me a higher pivot low. So now we've had some sequential higher pivot lows. We kind of had some lift and then this big linear leg down where it looks like when I see that, that is typically institutionals pushing price to a level where they want to turn around and buy it. So it looks like they're going to bring it. They brought it right down to the prior low ahead of the US cash session open, which doesn't open for about 17 minutes. So I have a final target like right in this area where the prior market was holding well above this low. Started getting some lift and it looked like they said, no, let's run it down. Let's bring it all the way down, get a better cost basis and get in. And it looks like they've, a little bit of buying's coming in here. If this starts ripping up pretty rapidly and getting linear leading up to the US cash session open, that would be them, more convincing to me that this is just a gamed down move. When I see very linear moves like this, and I see it brought right to a level and then the selling kind of stops, a lot of times that looks to me just like institutional games. So we'll watch this a bit and see what we get right out of the open since we had such a significant price swing from a quick, rapid move up out of the tariffs news after the stock market closed, but we're in that 1 hour where futures were still trading, had a big up move, then a very significant down move. And we took out the low pivot earlier in the week. We took that out. And now we have a new low pivot in the NQ and MNQ that was formed in the evening yesterday. So, and now we're coming down. We'll see if during the US session they go ahead and challenge that right away. That would not totally surprise me. Or if they push it up here and park it right before the open, then they might come in and absorb all the selling out of the opening, absorb it, hang on, not ever break this low, and then start grinding it up and then start pumping some really hard short covering on the day. I mean, the market's ripe for some short covering. Or institutionals could come down, get out of the way as buyers, just stand on the side, let all the initial selling that comes in out of the open, panic selling from stocks that are going to be opening gap down, let that flush out wherever the market ends up at, then they may turn around then and be buyers on the day. Because remember, we got Thursday and a Fridays. They have 2 days to work with to kind of come in here and build some support to potentially, if they think the worst of the tariff news is now played out, they could potentially let some sort of bottom form again, come in and be buyers and do some, rally action, some today, some tomorrow to kind of end the week a bit cleaned up and going into the weekend positive. Potentially, that's a potential. So we'll see what happens. But to me, since we came all the way back to that low, I was willing to get in here. We are outside of the bands. We had one hook so far. We had another little push down. But you can see these legs are getting smaller and smaller and smaller to the downside. We do have an upward triangle. That candle close was there. I put in some liquidity right in this area, and we'll see what we get. So as we get closer to the US cash session open, probably go ahead and take one more out here and just leave 2 on for the open. I hit one more trade yesterday. I was really busy at the time and ended up ramping up. Caught a really nice trade. And I was out of the market well before the U.S. cash markets closed, knowing that the tariff stuff was about to hit. I did not at all want to be in the market as that news hit. I just knew it would be too volatile, and I had no clue it was going to go. I thought very likely we would go down. I wasn't imagining any scenario where the tariff news would be something the market would like. So, and my last trade yesterday was a long. There was a decent little rally there into the end part of the day when the stock market was still trading during the cash session period. So we'll stand by here a bit, see what we get, and getting close to the U.S. cash session open. We're about 12 minutes out. Okay, one thing I wanted to point out, since we didn't quite touch the prior evening low, and we have no idea what this is going to do when the cash markets open in about 4 minutes. We're still pre-market. But this is kind of a pivot I'll be paying attention to in the morning. Any trade above that pivot is going to be, it's kind of a short-term over-under. We stay below that during the day, it's pretty negative. We get above that pivot, and that's where institutionals could get some triggering of some significant short covering to happen. So anything above this, and we do have a prominent pivot right here too. We'll mark that. Right in that area price. But that could really get things going if institutionals were to come in and hit this hard with their buy program activity when they buy 0DT options, regular options, baskets of stocks and futures, all in concert together with automated buy program activity. There could be some pretty significant short covering because you got to remember all this trade activity happened in the overnight session, a very low volume period. So kind of where we are now in pricing versus where we closed yesterday is a very large gap. And it's filled with a minimal amount of futures volume. So there's going to be a lot of stocks that, they could come in and with lower amounts of volume than typical on buy program activities, overcome any early morning buying or any early morning selling and get some pretty hellacious linear upside moves. That potential is there. Not that they're going to go and, fill in the whole sell off from yesterday, but, they could get a lot of work done today and maybe park the market in this area or even higher than that pivot by the end of the day. I mean, that potential is there if the institutional side, mainly investment bank and then hedge funds, see this as an opportunity, like a gift of a pullback to get stuff that's gapped down that they can go in and grab cheap. And if they stay on the gas pedal all day, they can lift price away from that early liquidity that they put into the market this morning and park the market higher and have new liquidity already significantly in the money by the end of the day, and then build on that tomorrow, and then go into the weekend with a whole bunch of new long positions, especially in the stock side or option side, that are deep in the money going into the weekend. So, so we're going to see what happens. What it's going to be about is all the selling, the panic selling that hits out of the open. Will they overcome that with buy side liquidity to neutralize it in a sense? And then when that opening, 15 to 30 minutes of selling dissipates, then how much liquidity are they willing to come in? And they could basically not have a lot of opposition, retracing about the first third of yesterday's downside move. That could be built upon with some pretty easy to trigger short covering of those that have been selling futures overnight or pre-market, buying to cover to unwind, adding to the newly initiated buying coming in from the institutional side. So anyhow, we're about a minute away So I thought we could potentially get a linear move, and I'll park this just above since we're already up on the open. Let's put this about 40, 44s. And basically, I'm ready to just flip this out, and then I'll go into the US cash session neutral. Okay, we'll call that good. And that was a pretty nice little catch on that long. So here we go. US session, cash session has just started. And we'll see what we get here. And I'll probably look at getting into any longs if I see some good established buying coming in. If we have a really linear up move, and then I'm seeing the price cleaned out a level or two, then I might be willing to be a seller. I'd be more likely to be willing to be a seller of any rotation and excursion outside of the bands above at least this level. I'm not all that interested in being a seller down here today. I'm way over daily goal from yesterday late day trading and then this morning trading. So I'm good. So I'll probably work on as a goal today to just get up to 308,000. So I really don't have much to go. And so I'll sit on my hands and wait for a really good setup. But I really like being a seller. There are some pivots. Price action above this level. And where's that other pivot? Yeah, right there. There was a pivot too. Kind of an area we lifted, sold off, lifted, didn't quite make it there and sold off. So this area, market came up in the pre-market, almost made up to that level. So I'm watching kind of this area right in here as the first area I'd be willing to be a seller today, where I have the setup. I'll look for the setup that I like, but I'll have the price location as far as levels go aligned with what I like. So level sweep of this level, and especially that level, then I'd really like to look for some short action. And I'll play it with light size because it won't take me much. I could just jump into a long on a pullback here on any secondary lift and grab my last $100 to get me to 308,000. But we'll see what we get. And if I work a short, I might run it up to about 308.5. Work the trade till I get to about 308.5-ish or more. So anyhow, we'll see. And but I like that long action so far this morning. So I'll put up another video later if I work any short setup. Okay, if you have any questions, info@gridalgo.com. Talk to y'all later and have a great trade day.